How is it going, everybody? My name's Avid, and today, believe it or not, is Avid Adventures episode 10. And I'll be honest with you, I never thought I would make it to 10 episodes. After all, when I started off this series, I think I had maybe 100 subscribers, and the fact that we are over 1,000 now absolutely blows my mind. And guys, I cannot thank you enough. So with all of that wonderfulness said, it is now time to start the episode. And guys, I have put together an unbelievably packed episode today. Gosh, this one took a while. But we are actually going to talk a little bit about Avid Adventures, the series as a whole. We're going to cover loot tables and how we use them to our advantage. And at the end of the video, there is a cinematic sequence that is literally giving me chills thinking about it. So let's get into the episode. Okay, we are back in Ebonglade. And guys, I messed up big time. My first mistake was saying I'd be done with a boss fight and a mini quest in 2 episodes. Yeah. We're gonna take our time with it, but we will get there. My second mistake was that I never showed you guys how players escape the Dark Descent when they do not have the Bloodweave armor. And that one is because, well, I didn't build it. So with a little hole in our mine shaft, a little bit of command block magic to see when the player does not have the Bloodweave armor on, we then will open the escape hatch. We are going to play a sound, and we are also going to give the player a message. Giving it a quick test here, and we see you do not have the required equipment to proceed. We can float through this little exit door. Bloodweave armor is the key, of course. We come up this water elevator, and we are at our save room just before the tomb room. And just to be sure, let's test this now. When I put the Bloodweave armor on, we should, yes! Yeah. And guys, honestly, I could play this all day, but we need to get back down to the mines. Ooh, but this is hard to resist. I love this part. Yeah! I love that mini game. Oh my gosh. I cut it short here because you guys have already seen me play that. If you actually want to see the full video of that mini game, I believe it's in episode 8. But now that we're down here, let's get to work. If you remember from the last episode, we reimagined potion making in Minecraft. And just at the top of this long spiral staircase is a potion room that our adventurers will stumble upon when they're kind of wandering the grounds of the Dark Gate. And this is the key to solving the puzzle, to open the gate, to then fight Nodac, the boss of this mini quest. So the way that this works, if you guys don't remember from the last episode, is players are going to have to light the cauldron here. Now the next step is they fill the cauldron with some water and you get this beautiful bubbling effect. Then we throw in ingredient number 1. Woo! Yeah, I love that. And the color of the particles changes a little bit. Ingredient number 2 goes in and we get that beautiful, brilliant pink. Then finally the dwarven flesh goes in and the potion is ready. And now I think it's better if I'm in adventure mode because now we can pull 1 potion of the Ore Seeker from the cauldron. Then when players drink this potion, there are going to be a couple of ores that are highlighted here. That's the whole kind of point of the potion, is it highlights ores in the wall. Ooh! And then they use their mining arrows here to shoot down these weights. No words describe how cool that is. And while these are amazing player experiences, the brewing, the weights, the Dark Gate itself, we haven't actually provided players with ways to obtain these ingredients. And the first thing I think we're going to tackle today is the Belias root, which I've made a little kind of farming patch for here. And then also the Lamentis flower, which I have perched atop this boulder and kind of made a tiny parkour puzzle for players to get on top. Let's see if I can do it. Look at that, Neo. Initially, I was thinking of putting some kind of harvesting tool inside this shed here that players could just pick up, but then I realized something. Players already have a harvesting tool when they come down here. If you guys remember, in order to get into the Dark Descent, which is what gets you into these mines, players need to break nether wart blocks with the Holy Sickle that they obtain from Vilethorn. So, by upgrading the Can Destroy parameter, which tells Minecraft that players can use that item in adventure mode to break certain blocks, we can upgrade our Holy Sickle to not only be able to break shroom lights, but also wither roses, roses and nether warts. And now when I press this button, we're given a Holy Sickle that can break shroom lights, wither roses, and nether warts. And with one problem resolved, I now realize I have 2 more problems. Back in the tomb room here, I'm now realizing the Holy Sickle doesn't break nether wart, at least the one that players win from the quest, so that's gonna have to get turned over into shroom lights. And it kind of adds some nice backlighting anyways. The second problem is any player who has already beaten Vilethorn probably has the old Holy Sickle. So I'm going to have to make sure that they have a Holy Sickle so that they can actually beat the new quest. With all the loops now finally closed, I hope. Let me know if I missed anything down in the comments. Now I think players in adventure mode should be able to use the Holy Sickle to break these blocks here. And let's just quickly test that. Yes, perfect. Clearly, this is not the Belias route. So how are we gonna do that? As always, I have come up with 3 possible options in order to make this effect work. The first is we detect if a nether wart is on the ground, and if it is, we delete it really quickly and replace it with the Belias root. This has 2 downsides that I can think of. The first is, what if a player can pick up that item before the command block can delete it? Then it's stuck in the player's inventory, the player doesn't get the root. Yeah, there's lots of problems with that one. The second problem is, of course, we have a repeating command block that's sitting there, always watching to see if there's a Belias root, and that makes our server laggy. Option number 2 is we detect if any player in that area has netherwart in their inventory. And if they do, we delete it, and then we swap it out really quickly for the Belias root. But then there is option number 3. And if you guys have been following my series long enough, you know that options 1 and 2 tend to not work so great. And you know what? This time, why don't we just cut out the middleman and go straight to option 3? I mean, after all, loot tables are a fantastic way to—
No data packs.
Who said that? Hello?
I said no data packs.
What do you want? Sheep?
You said no data packs.
Well,
you promised.
Okay, I mean, I said I wasn't going to do data packs, but loot tables aren't data packs. Loot tables they're JSON files. It's metadata.
Then you've got to draw the line somewhere. This is getting ridiculous.
Oh, that's getting ridiculous. Not the fact that I'm arguing with the sheep.
No.
Okay, fine. I will set the rules right now. Okay, thank you, sheep. Gosh, that guy is such a sheep jerk, but he's a right sheep jerk. He's right in that we are 10 episodes into Avid Adventures, and there are all these unwritten rules, like not using data packs, that I haven't discussed with you guys. So let's talk about them. And the best place to discuss this is probably in my first quest, Copper Point. Okay, so let's just cut right to the chase. Avid, why no data packs? And the answer is because I hate data packs. No, I'm kidding. The answer is kind of simple, but also a little complicated. So the first part that's simple is, as you guys know, or if you don't know, I'm a software engineer. And what that means is I'm basically spending my entire day writing code on a laptop. And the absolute last thing I want to do is, after my workday, write more code and make data packs. But Avid, isn't command block adventure map making basically coding? No, it forces me to use my brain in a totally different way. And I promise you, command blocks in Redstone, it's not at all like software engineering. Some of the concepts apply, but really it's totally different. So kind of part 1 is I want to use my brain in a different way. But part 2 is a little bit of history about this server. So for those of you who don't know, I made this server back in 2020 as a way to bring my friends together during the really hard times that they were. And, oh gosh, gotta go back. Oh, and so, I brought my friends together, but I was really worried because, as a lot of SMPs tend to go, after everyone beats the end dragon, everyone quits. And I just didn't want to see another server go that way. So I decided I needed to create an endgame for Minecraft. And whatever that would be, I thought it had to be around quests and adventures and special items and challenges. And so that's kind of where Avid Adventures was born, was this need to keep my friends excited and interested to come back to this server. But since I decided to host this server on Realms, I realized pretty quickly that it was really challenging to add a data pack. In fact, you have to download the entire server, add the data pack, re-upload it, and if your server's massive, then it takes hours and hours and hours. So I wasn't gonna make data packs just for that reason, and I'm so thankful that I had that restriction, because that brings me to kind of my main point, which is restricted content like Avid Adventures, where I only use command blocks and redstone to do the stuff that I do, is more interesting. You think about it like this. There was this huge boom in hardcore Minecraft Let's Plays. And the reason that people were really interested in hardcore Let's Plays was because it forces the player to think differently about playing the game. And because they're thinking differently, the content is different. And because the content is different, people are more interested in watching, and it's more fun to make. When I see data pack content, I have a whole ton of respect for it. And there are some people out there who are absolutely amazing at it. And, I don't even think I want to even come close to competing with that. But I guess what I'm thinking is, with Avid Adventures being the way that it is, watch out for this guy, being the way that it is where I can only make adventure maps using command blocks and redstone, that makes for more unique content. And so that kind of leads me to my list of 3 rules that I want to talk about with you guys today. And they come with a couple exceptions, so we'll get into that. Rule number 1 is no data packs. But exception number 1 is loot tables. I feel like loot tables add this element to adventure map making that simply cannot be replaced with command blocks. A lot of pretty much everything else that I do can be replaced with command blocks, but there is no mechanism that is similar to loot tables. Yes, there are ways you can do it, but it is very complex and it is not worth the hours and hours and hours of time and energy. So that is kind of part 1. But rule number 2 is going to lead to my second exception on data packs, which is don't lag the server. And the reason for this is because I have been working on this adventure server for a year and a half. And ow, that got me at the very end. If the server lags, people aren't gonna play. People aren't gonna come back. So we need to do everything that we can, come up with good design decisions to prevent lagging the server. That leads to my second exception, which is that predicates are allowed. And predicates, for those of you guys who don't know, are just really fancy selectors, like how we selected Bloodweave armor when players are falling down the dark descent. So our 2 rules are no data packs, asterisks. Second rule, don't lag the server. And the third rule is the story comes above all else. And what that really means is I don't want these restrictions to limit the story that I am trying to tell. And so that does lead me to my final exception, which is a little bit of a spoiler, but custom dimensions are allowed. And while that was a bit of a tangent, hopefully now you guys understand how my series works, and also hopefully we don't get any more judgment from anything over that hill. So let's talk about loot tables. Loot tables are assigned to just about everything in Minecraft, from blocks and plants to entities like zombies, sheep, and even chests that are spawned in as part of terrain generation. For instance, this one is an ancient city chest, and even fishing. All of these activities have loot tables. And what do loot tables do for them? Well, they control what items are dropped when those specific things are broken or killed or fished or looted. Like for instance, with gravel, we don't always get gravel back when we break gravel with a shovel. Sometimes we get flint. And in this case, I am not lucky enough to get flint. Another really cool thing about loot tables is they can be influenced by external factors, such as the weapon that was used to break the block. Minecraft does this all the time, like when you have a Fortune 3 diamond pickaxe and you break a diamond block, you're gonna get more diamonds out of it. And today, we are not only going to create a loot table, but we are also going to override an existing vanilla loot table, which is not as easy as you think. Reason being, we want all netherwart on the server to drop Belias root when it is cut by a Holy Sickle. But we want Netherwart to continue to drop its original loot when it's broken by anything else, which is why I've added this second branch to our little state diagram here. And the way to do that is to simply point our loot table back at the vanilla version of the Netherwart loot table. Only problem is we just overwrote the Netherwart version of the loot table. So we point back at our own loot table, which means we are stuck in a loop. And fortunately, Minecraft handles this in a graceful way by not giving you any items. Fortunately, there is a way to resolve this problem, which is that we make a replica of the Netherwart loot table inside of our data pack, and we just point that condition to the replica. And now with our data pack all codified and loaded into the server, we have effectively extended a vanilla loot table to include a condition where when the Netherwart is broken by the Holy Sickle, you get the Belias root, and when it's broken by anything else, you get the regular vanilla drop. Oh, and if you're wondering what that stick was that I used to rotate the terracotta, it's called the Debug stick, and you can only get it in creative mode, but it's amazing. You can actually rotate any rotatable block by right-clicking it with the Debug stick, and I gotta say, when I'm placing terracotta, this thing is amazing. And so, with 2 ingredients out of the way, we now need to figure out the other 5. And guys, I promise you it's not going to take me the majority of the episode to get the other ones done. These ones are considerably simpler. So the first thing I have over here is I've upgraded our shed or filled it with a bunch of junk so that when you step on this pressure plate, you get a message that says, you find flint and steel amongst the gravel. Then I made a fountain and I moved our boulder out of the way. I made a fountain that has this really nice little particle effect here with these levers. They kind of look like spouts, I guess, coming out of the fountain. And players will probably step on these pressure plates right away and notice, hey, perhaps a bucket could be useful here. Now, the bucket is going to be located up in the jail cell, which we'll get to in a moment. But once they find the bucket, they can bring it back down, step on the pressure plate, fill up their bucket with water. As for the empty bottle, that one was easy. Where else would you find empty bottles but in the potion room? So I kind of hid it along the floor here. There's a pressure plate, and when players step on it, you find a bottle lodged between 2 books. That leaves us with 3 more items, and one of those 3 items is the bucket, which is found in this jail cell here at the top of the other tower. And when you step next to this cauldron, you find a bucket, though you're concerned with how it was used. Not thinking about that too much, we are now going to figure out the last piece of the puzzle here, which is, of course, a long-lost dwarf in this jail cell. And for that, I am going to have to learn a little bit about armor stands. So I found a tool online, which I'll link in the description of this video, but it helps you generate armor stands. It kind of comes up with this incredibly long, I'm not even going to show you all that command, but if we press the button here, I mean, it's... hold on a second. Almost. He's just a little tucked into the covers. Oh, and you're probably wondering where his legs are. Well, they're right next to him, of course. I mean, not attached, but, you kind of paint a picture of what happened here, and maybe we could put a little bit of backsplash on the wall and trigger an IF invisible and kind of give a little idea of what happened to this poor guy, and I need to get outside more. In thinking about these last 2 items, I kind of want to make a story for this dwarf and what exactly happened to him here. Like, maybe he was trying to escape using mining arrows, and I thought this was kind of a cool idea. This cauldron here is covering up a hole that he was digging as he was trying to escape, and maybe down in the hole are some mining arrows that he was using as part of his escape attempt. And when his captors figured out what was happening, well, they had to make an example out of him. And let's say this dwarf made a pretty sizable tunnel, like, we'll maybe move it back a couple of... Ooh, well, this is convenient. And it ends here, and it doesn't seem to, oh my gosh, this is perfect. Cool. So yeah, maybe I could put some of the mining arrows at the end of this little mine shaft. So something kind of like this, and then we'll just rewire our entrance button slightly so that whenever it's pressed, it's going to trigger 2 command blocks. The first is going to set that chest to air, so no items will pop out. And then the second is just going to fill up that chest with the mining arrows. Some of you are probably face-palming right now because I forgot to include a way to actually fire the arrows. So there, now it's in that chest. And with the exit all wired up here, now all we have to do is approach these legs with the mining arrow. And it says you cut off a piece of flesh from the leg using the mining arrow. I had to do it. And I have a feeling some of you are going to suggest I just dip this arrow in the cauldron here to make the mining arrow. I would say that is a fantastic idea, and we will get to that. Just not this episode. And now with our puzzle 100% complete, it's time to catch back up with the story of Nodac. After all, he must have found his way down here at some point if he is the boss that lies beyond the Dark Gate. But did he plant the Belias root and the Lamentus flower? Or was the Dark Gate some kind of shrine to the Ore Seeker potion? When Nodac released the Old One, the black smoke did not transform him like the others. Instead, his fate was far worse. A powerful force flung him across the room and into the dark descent, where he fell for what seemed like days. When he finally hit the bottom, Nodac was exhausted, dehydrated, and starving. Leaning against a wall for support, he collapsed. Until he heard a voice calling to him from somewhere within the chamber. Nodac followed the crumbling path to the sound of the voice until he came upon a dark figure standing atop a gate.
You have arrived at last to fulfill your destiny.
Destiny? I don't even know where I am. Who are you?
This is the Dark Gate, where the boundaries between your dimension and the other side are thin. It was constructed many millennia ago to hold off the forces of evil that used to pour through here. As to who I am Olm, and I have to thank you for freeing me.
No, I didn't want to free you. You tricked me with that potion. This was all a trick to set you free.
Freeing me was a small piece of it. But the real reason I kept you alive is through that gate. This is where you'll be going next.
Why? I just want to get out of here.
Enough. Everyone you know and love in Evanglade is gone. And it's because of you. Do what I ask, and I will cure your precious city of the plague you brought upon them.
Okay. What do you ask of me? I'll do anything.
You must make another Ore Seeker potion. You can find everything you need around here. Then, there is a prison cell with an arrow you must acquire from a lost soul. With everything in hand, drink the potion, and the way will be revealed. Once you get to other side, you must destroy the orb. Do this, or Evanglade is forever doomed.